Hello you guys, welcome back. She Loves God here. Today's topic is modest is the hottest. Modest is the hottest. And by modest, I'm talking about the way that women dress, the way that women Christian dress, how we adorn ourselves. Now, I'm not going to really, touch on, wearing a bunch of accessories or makeup and stuff like that in our hair. I'm just talking about just, our regular clothes. So the reason this topic interests me is because maybe a few years ago, I got this book called For Young Women Only by it's by Shaunti Feildhahn and Lisa A. Rice. And in this book, they interviewed, I believe, thousands of young men from different, backgrounds, different ages, different religions. And they interviewed these men and they compared all their research together and they wrote a book about what they learned. And it was just very interesting what they learned, and it really helped me to understand the importance of modesty in women's dress. Now I'm going to show you a picture so you can know what I mean by modest and immodest. So here's a picture of two women, and I want you to tell me, which one do you think is the immodest one? We have some woman here, I think she's maybe Muslim or something, and we have here Jessica Simpson. This woman here, her hair is covered, her arms are covered, her chest is covered. You can't even see her neck. All you can see is her hands and her face. And then we have Jessica Simpson here, who's showing her shirt is almost all the way buttoned all the way down here. She has her stomach, her midriff is showing. She's showing all her thighs, but her arms are covered though. We give her that. So that is what I meant when I'm saying modest is the hottest. And if you just be honest with yourselves, you can tell clearly who looks more attractive, who looks more, more ladylike, more appealing. I mean, some men may say, Jessica Simpson, she looks the hottest because I see her skin. But when you talk about who looks more attractive and who looks classy and who would you want to get to know more, you would clearly say the lady, she's a little more mystery to her, a lot more self-respect. So that is what I mean by modest. I say modest is the hottest. Okay? Now, as a Christian, we may say, like in church, when they want us to dress a certain way in the church, we may say, well, why should I have to dress, modestly in the church? I'm saved. Everyone there should be saved. So, too bad if the deacon or if the elder is tempted by how short my dress is. Too bad for him. Too bad if I'm showing my stomach, or if my thigh is showing, or my cleavage, whatever showing. I know there's some churches out there where women cannot wear, or they're not supposed to wear, open-toe shoes. And there are some other churches, Christian churches, where women are always have their hair covered. They don't want the women's hair, they don't want their hair showing. They of course can't show their stomach or their legs. They have to wear long dresses all the way down to their ankles. Have head coverings. So, I used to always wonder. I was just like, well, I'm sorry if the men are so tempted. Maybe the problem is their lust. Let me dress how I dress and let them deal with their lust. That's a personal problem between them and God. I used to figure that. But, thankfully for this book, For Young Women Only, I learned how men think, and I learned why it is so important for Christian women to dress modestly. Now, one thing they mentioned that was very interesting was that they said the male mind works differently than how our mind works. Now, women, we're more into touch. I guess they call that tactile. We're more into touch. If you touch a woman, she'll just melt in your arms and she's all yours. If you kiss a woman, she'll melt. You hug her, she'll melt. But with a man, if you just look good, that is what gets the man. Men are visual. Women are tactile. We're into touch and, feeling and hugging and kissing. Men are visual. And of course, they like the touching too. But men are very visual beings. One thing the book also said was that men, because of their visual minds, they envision women's bodies long after the fact. So if they saw you 5 years ago, and you had a nice, chest, they're going to always remember it. I remember that girl back in 2005. She had the best chest I ever saw. Or if you were really nice, behind, they'll remember the shape of your behind years later. So this is, according to the research that she did, these men said they have a hard time erasing mental images from their heads, and they say they even pop up sometimes unwanted. Just like, you know, when you're on the internet on a website, and a pop-up ad will show up trying to, you know, advertise something to you. The men in the book were saying that they would just be walking down the street or just go to church, and all of a sudden a mental image of a nice body they saw on their way to church pops up in their head. They can't help it. It just happens. It happens on its own. Now, a verse I want to touch on, I'm not sure what Bible version this is. It's 1 Corinthians 10, 23 through 24. It says, everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Everything is permissible, but not everything is constructive. Nobody should seek his own, but the good of others. Now, the reason I read this verse is because, these two verses, is because I understand, you know, that I can, if I want to, I can wear, you know, shorter skirts. I can wear, you know, shorter, you know, shorts if I want to. I'm still going to heaven whether I do it or not, because I know I'm saved. But just because I can do it doesn't mean I should. You know, just because I'm still going to heaven does not mean I won't cause another male to lust. I want to read that version in King James. There's 1 Corinthians 10, verse 23 through 24. All things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but not, it says, all things are lawful for me, but all things edify not. So, when you see it like that, it makes you, you know, just think, you know, I can do a lot of things to still be saved, because I'm not under the law, I'm under the Spirit. But still, you know, women, I know, you know, we like to, especially when it's summertime, we want to wear short shorts and, you know, have all of our, you know, back out and our chest out, whatever. But the truth is that we're tempting people. Job 31:1 says, I made a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully at a girl. Now, some people say, you know, that Job is, you know, they say it's not a real book. They say, you know, it's just like a made-up story in the Bible. But, you know, let's just say that Job, you know, is a real, actual account of something that really happened. If it is an actual account, they said that Job, who was perfect and upright, he feared God and eschewed evil. That was Job 1:1. And, you know, 30 chapters later, verse 1 says, I made a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully at a girl. So whether this is a true account or a made-up story, this righteous man who lived perfectly and who feared God and who eschewed evil, he even had to make a covenant, a deal with his own eyeballs not to look lustfully at a girl. It's like he had to consciously say, okay, eyeballs, when you see a fine girl walk by, do not look at her with lust in your eyes. So, you know, people, I mean, it's so serious, men almost have to make a covenant with their eyeballs not to look at you. Now, this book also said that when we wear tight or revealing clothes, that men sometimes automatically envision us naked. And sometimes envision us naked with them. I mean, it's instinctual, meaning they just can't help it. It just happens. As soon as they see a girl, you know, with her stomach out and a nice shape, they're going to think, I wonder what she looks like without the rest of those clothes on. You know, that this is what the book says. Like I said, it pops up. Sometimes, you know, when they see that girl walk by, days later, it may just pop up in their head about how nice she looked. Okay? Now, Matthew 5:28 is very important. This is what Jesus himself said. Now, like I said, the book of Job, some people say it was a made-up, you know, fictional story that could teach us, you know, some important religious lessons, important spiritual lessons. But Matthew 5:28, that's real deal. This is Jesus talking. Let's see what Jesus himself said. He said, but I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. When a man looks at you women lustfully, he has committed adultery with you. Not just adultery, it said adultery with her in his heart. How many men have committed adultery with you in their heart and are guilty of adultery? Now, some of you may say, well, it doesn't really matter, you know, if they didn't see my body or if they didn't see my short shorts and my chest, they were going to see another girl maybe a second later. And that's true, because in America, you know, especially in the summertime, there's no shortage of women dressing any kind of way. And if they don't see you in the street, they'll see it on TV or on the internet. But does that make it okay for you to dress that way just because they're gonna commit adultery with somebody in their heart? Why would you want to be? Why would you want to be a part of something that Jesus expressly speaks against? Now, you know, I'm not trying to, make people be legalistic or anything. I'm just telling you that women like us, and I know I've been guilty of this, women like us have caused men to commit adultery with us in their heart. Not just with other women looking at our bodies. I'm talking about they're looking at your body, lusting and committing adultery with you in their heart. You know, I don't want to be guilty of one single man, one single solitary man committing adultery in his heart, fantasizing about my body because I wore something too tight or too short or too revealing. I mean, that's just, as a Christian, that should bother you. Now, if you're not a Christian, you know, you shouldn't even be watching this video anyway, because I'm talking Bible verses, I'm talking, you know, Christian morals here. But if you're a Christian, you shouldn't want to have that effect on men. The only person you should be wanting to tempt should be the only man you should want to be attracted to you sexually should be your husband. And you know, it's summertime. It's still the summertime for about 20 more days. And you know, people are going to be going swimming. People are going to still be going swimming until it gets cold outside. Now, some people think that because it's the summertime, that it's an excuse for them to wear, you know, revealing clothes. Now, anybody with common sense knows that a swimming suit is just a bra and panty set, but it's a different material. It's the same exact cut. The same exact cut. But because it's a different material, you think it's less, you think it's any more modest or honorable to wear? Women in other countries, they're modest year round. They don't just, the woman I showed you out in the beginning with I think they called it, I'm not sure what they call it. I think it may be a burqa, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. This woman right here, something tells me she wears that year round. Something tells me she's not gonna put on a swimsuit when it's hot outside. She's gonna be modest all the time. I'm not saying we should dress like her. I'm not saying that at all. But if you can help it, maybe you should consider wearing more modest swimming suits. You don't have to have your stomach out to swim. You don't have to have shorts up your behind. You don't have to have a panty cut swimming suit bikinis. You can have, you know, longer boy shorts. You can actually wear, you know, some surfers shorts. The kind of, you know, shorts that men wear when they go swimming. You can wear a t-shirt to go swimming. Now, you know, it would be all fine, good and dandy if we lived in a world full of just, you know, heterosexual females. Then we could dress how we want to dress. But we live in a culture with many men who are very easily tempted. And like I said, I know that if they're not going to lust with us, they're going to lust with somebody. But what I'm saying is you don't want to be held accountable for making somebody else lust when you knew you could have done better. You didn't have to dress like that. Okay, one more verse I want to read in this video. It says, it's 1 Corinthians 8:9. But take heed, lest by any means this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak. Just because, you know, you are, you know, free in Christ and you're not under the law, but you're under the Spirit and you're going to heaven, don't use that liberty to become a stumbling block to men, to those who are weak. And I think in this context, you can use it to say, you know, men who are spiritually weak. There are men who are easily tempted by the way you dress. I know, I really don't like it when women, you know, when women, they do the mime dancing. The teenage girls, they do the mime dancing at church. And they wear, you know, they have like, their bottoms are loose, but they have these really tight, you know, tops. They have long sleeves, but sometimes, you know, it's kind of a low cut neck, probably just like the one I have on now. And that sounds like a hypocrite. But they have these super, super tight, you know, bodysuits. And a lot of these girls, you know, especially in teenagers nowadays, they have big breasts. And I've heard a preacher friend tell me that he was tempted by the girls, teenage girls. He wasn't ashamed to tell me. A married preacher, a friend of mine, is a minister at his church, and he told me that he was very tempted by these teenage girls because their clothes are so tight. Now, how are you going to minister to God tempting your brethren? You know, maybe they should wear looser clothing. So this is part 1. Look for part 2. Thank you.